Welcome to the Explainer. Every single day we walk right past them. We barely even give them a second glance, right? But plants are so much more than just stationary green background decorations. Our goal today, we're going to completely transform the way you look at a regular, mundane walk in the park. Because plants, they aren't just sitting there. They are highly structured, active, living machines, and they are constantly performing these absolutely incredible biological feats right beneath our noses. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Imagine stepping outside right now, like really observing your surroundings. Think about the incredible, just wild variety of life out there. You've got these tiny, simple patches of green hugging the soil, maybe some delicate little blue and red flowers dotting the grass. And then, boom, right next to them are these giant towering trees. Honestly, it's a bit of a chaotic visual feast.
Part 1, categorizing the plant kingdom. Let's make some sense of it all.
So, to make sense of all this wild variety, we generally categorize plants based on their size and their stems. Let's start small. Our first structural category is herbs. Now, these are short plants, usually way smaller than you or me. The real defining feature here is the stem. It's green, it's delicate, and it's very tender to the touch. And because that stem is so soft and fragile, herbs usually don't have a whole lot of branches spreading outwards.
Okay, scaling up slightly, we find shrubs. These plants might actually be right around your height. Notice how the structure shifts here. The stem is definitely hard now. It's not green and tender like our herb, but it's still not super thick. What really gives a shrub that classic bushy appearance is where the branches grow. They start developing right down near the base of the stem, super close to the ground.
Let's move up again and see how this builds. This brings us to our third major category, trees. These are the absolute giants of the plant world, towering way above us. They feature these incredibly hard, extremely thick stems that we, of course, call trunks. And unlike shrubs, a tree's branches don't start down near the base. They develop much, much higher up off the ground, which is what forms that massive canopy.
Now, nature always loves to throw in a few structural oddballs, and that brings us to creepers and climbers. These guys have super weak stems. They literally cannot stand upright on their own. So how do they survive? Well, creepers solve this problem by just spreading horizontally all over the ground, just sprawling out. Climbers, though, they take a totally different approach. They grab onto neighboring structures, maybe a fence or nearby tree, to hitch a ride upwards toward the light. Part 2, the stem's plumbing system. Let's look inside.
All right, so we've successfully categorized what plants are, but what do they actually do? Well, to prove exactly how the stem works, you can set up this beautifully simple little experiment right at your house. Just picture setting this up. You fill a glass about 1/3 full with water, drop in some bright red or blue ink, snip the base off a soft herbaceous stem, pop it in the glass, and just wait. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens next. Over a surprisingly short period, you will literally see that red color rising right up into the stem. Honestly, if you leave it long enough, that red dye will even start showing up in the veins of the leaves. It's total visual proof that the stem is acting like this powerful anti-gravity plumbing system, constantly pulling liquids upward. But here's the kicker. It is absolutely not just a one-way pipe. Actually, a great way to think about the stem is like a busy two-way traffic street. On one side of the street, water and all those essential minerals are constantly moving up from the ground to feed the rest of the plant. But on the other side of the street, the food that the plant actually makes itself is moving down to be stored away. It's a constant two-way flow.
Part 3, leaves, nature's food factories.
Now that brings us to a pretty obvious question, right? Where exactly does the plant's food come from? Well, let's look at the basic anatomy driving this little food factory. It really relies on two main parts. First up is the broad, flat green surface. That's called the lamina. And then connecting that big green surface to the stem, which remember is our plumbing system, is this short little stalk. That's called the petiole. Now, what's really interesting is that leaves are incredibly active. One of their major functions is a process called transpiration. Basically, think of this as plant sweat. I mean it. If you were to take a clear plastic bag and tie it securely around a leafy branch on a nice sunny day, you'd come back a few hours later and actually find water droplets pooling inside the bag. That's water vapor actively escaping right out of the leaves and into the air. But the main event, the real magic happening in the leaf, is photosynthesis. The leaf is basically this bustling microscopic kitchen. It takes the water that got delivered by the stem, combines it with carbon dioxide from the air, and then uses the energy from sunlight, which is captured by a special green substance in the leaf, to literally cook up stored food. And the best part? The byproduct of all this cooking is the very oxygen that you and I breathe. Pretty amazing, right?
Part 4. Roots, anchors, and absorbers. Let's go underground. So to figure out where the stem's water originally comes from, we've got to zoom all the way down underground. Roots are the hidden workhorses of the plant world for sure, and they have two absolutely vital jobs. Think about the last time you tried to pull a really stubborn weed out of the ground. It's incredibly tough, isn't it? That's because those roots are firmly, and I mean firmly, anchoring the plant into the soil. And their second job, which is just as crucial, is to act like a sponge, absorbing all that water and all those minerals that the stem is eventually going to pull upward. And just like the stems, roots come in a few different architectural styles. You primarily have tap roots, and you have fibrous roots. Now, a taproot features one thick main root just plunging deep into the earth, with smaller lateral roots shooting off the sides. Think of a carrot. That's a classic taproot. Fibrous roots, on the other hand, well, they don't have a main root at all. Instead, they form this widespread, tangled, messy net of similar-looking roots right beneath the surface, kind of like what you'd see if you pulled up a clump of grass. Part 5, this secret plant code. This is where it gets really cool.
Okay, everything we've talked about so far, it all leads up to this incredible biological shortcut. It's literally a secret code. To crack it, I want you to think back to when you were a kid. Remember putting a piece of paper over a leaf and rubbing a crayon or a pencil over it to reveal the pattern underneath? Those lines that sort of magically appear on the paper, those are the veins of the leaf. And the specific design made by those veins, biologists call that leaf venation. So the crucial point is, this venation is the secret code. Check this out. If a leaf has a net-like web design, which scientists call reticulate venation, that plant will always feature a deep taproot. No exceptions. But if the veins run in straight, parallel lines, that plant will always have fibrous roots. That means you don't even have to grab a shovel or dig the thing up to know exactly what's happening underground. You can just look at the leaves.
So, what does this all mean? Well, we've essentially decoded the hidden machinery of the plant. We know how the roots grip and drink, we know how the stems act as these two-way superhighways, and we've seen how the leaves cook up life-sustaining food. But there is one glaring piece of the puzzle left on the table, right? We've completely ignored the most eye-catching part of the whole shebang. So, how exactly do the brightly colored flower petals and those protective sepals fit into this incredible living machine? Well, that is a fascinating biological mystery that we're going to have to explore next time. Until then, keep observing.